You may not like the news, but you have to admire the person who delivers it. Paperboy.
Probably one of the most unique and iconic games of the 80s, Paperboy was an arcade-style game developed by Atari and released in 1985, featuring a young paperboy delivering newspapers to a bass and cowbell-driven soundtrack that may have you thinking back to a certain late-night SNL skit. Since then, the game has appeared as ports on various consoles, and its main character, the Paperboy, has appeared in Hollywood films like Wreck-It Ralph and Pixels. And I would wager that even people who have never had a big interest in video games but grew up in the 80s will recognize this classic game from the arcades. Everyone that played it could instantly relate to the concept of a delivery boy bringing newspaper to his clients. And with an arcade unit featuring actual bicycle handles as the controllers, the idea became ever more seamless. So today, I'd like to take you back to a time when newspapers were still relevant and showcase one of my all-time favorite arcade games, Paperboy. Upon starting Paperboy, the arcade game, you're greeted by an enthusiastic narrator who may or may not be Paperboy's boss, and an upbeat theme song.
Risking his life for the public's right to be informed, Paperboy rides the sidewalks of this land delivering papers.
This is one of the first arcade games that featured a voice track with Paperboy himself delivering some of the lines as he travels through each stage. The arcade game features 3 difficulty levels being presented as different paper routes: Easy Street, Middle Road, and Hard Way. The game then shows you a map of all the paper subscribers and also non-subscribers represented by white and black houses respectively. This lets the player know which houses are a target and which are not. Then the gameplay starts. It's a bright sunny day in Anytown, USA, and you begin your new role as a local paper delivery boy, distributing papers for the fictional news outlet, The Daily Sun. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, Paperboy's route isn't exactly a walk in the park, with everything from dogs, cars, tornadoes, and construction crews to avoid during his travels. Kids with RC cars will litter the streets, tires will come rolling out of garages, and cars will even hit Paperboy. The difficulty curve is pretty steep to start this game, and that soundtrack will have you feeling a lot more like this by the end of it. In addition, on each street you have a finite number of newspapers, so accuracy is highly rewarded. Hitting the paper on the doorstep of a house will net you some decent points, but if you are accurate enough to hit the actual mailboxes, you can score some bonus points. Bundles of newspapers can be picked up on the route as well, and you will definitely need it because not only do you earn points for hitting your subscribers, you will also get bonus points for vandalizing the non-subscriber houses. That's right. Throwing paper at everything such as windows and different people will net you extra points, which adds a ton of fun to the gameplay. This feature kept me coming back time and time again to see what could earn me more points to add to my high score. Paperboy can even throw a paper at a burglar trying to break into a home, branding him a local hero in the Daily Sun. Atari truly added a lot of imagination to this game. I would guess most people would say this sounds more like a chore than a video game when you hear the general concept of delivering papers, but because of the obstacles, the music, and Paperboy's charm, they really took this concept to the next level. At the end of each stage, there's an obstacle course that you have one shot at completing. This has bridges and ramps where you can jump to earn points. A crowd is waiting at the end to congratulate Paperboy and will end the day. Subscribers who got their paper and were not vandalized will remain subscribers. However, if you broke any windows on a subscriber's house, they will end their subscription to the Daily Sun. If you happen to keep all your subscribers, on the other hand, you can even pick up a new customer for the Daily Sun and add more potential to earn points on the following day. This arcade game was a truly fun experience once you got a hold of the controls. Throwing the papers proved to be somewhat difficult to aim, as your acceleration at the time of throwing will change the trajectory. In addition, there are so many obstacles on each street that can cause Paperboy to crash. It definitely takes a few tries to figure out how to maneuver the street and make the most of each paper run. Due to the success of Paperboy in the arcades, Atari knew they had to bring this experience to the home console market. So in 1986, Paperboy was ported to home consoles including the NES and was published by Mindscape, which is the version we'll be taking a look at today. Paperboy on NES, featuring awesome box art similar to the arcade unit, has a bit of a downgrade in the visuals when compared to the arcade, but this game is still a ton of fun, timeless gameplay. That familiar song begins to play and you are off to deliver paper to all your subscribers. Homes are still color-coded and a lot of the same obstacles appear in this NES port. The controls on Paperboy for the NES are actually a bit tighter and easier to pick up and play for the first time, and I think that has a lot to do with Nintendo's D-pad, which was revolutionary at the time. Maneuvering Paperboy makes a little more sense, and throwing the papers is about equally as difficult, making it a fun challenge to get better each time when you play it. One of the best aspects of the NES port is that they kept everything in it that made the first Paperboy so fun. The obstacle course, the vandalism, and all the hazards on Paperboy's route still appear. This time even including the Grim Reaper on one of the streets. Gone are the selection of different difficulties though, but this game on a CRT looks fantastic, and Paperboy's bike just handles so much steadier than it did in the arcade. This game will require you to play a few rounds though to figure out which obstacles are hazards to Paperboy and will cause him to crash, very similar to the arcade game. At the time of the arcades in the 80s, this was just an awesome way to experience a great arcade game in your home. Not too many compromises were made, and all of the charm from the arcade game was still there. Paperboy 2, released in 1991, is the direct follow-up to the original Paperboy. This copy here is the SNES version of Paperboy 2, featuring some great upgrades to the controls due to the SNES controller. This game has the same general idea, with the added option of playing as Paper Girl this time as well. The isometric angle of the gameplay starts out moving to the left, but halfway through the route, the angle switches to the classic Paperboy angle from bottom left to top right. This game handles the best to me out of all the Paperboy games, and is an upgrade in the visuals from the NES version as well. The houses in this one can get pretty out there though. Everything from a haunted castle with gargoyles shooting lightning at you to an actual castle with a moat in front of it. The developers went all out with this sequel, making it even more fun to play. This is definitely a game to check out if you're a fan of the first Paperboy or the arcade version. Another interesting aspect of the Super Nintendo Paperboy 2 game is the box art. They decided to go with a picture this time of an actual kid riding a bike with a bag saying the Daily Sun on it. I thought that was a very interesting choice as opposed to the cartoon look of the first cartridge. All in all, Paperboy is a fun yet quirky game that can be understood and enjoyed by a wide variety of people. While many other arcade games of the time featured spaceships, lasers, or fantasy elements, this game was content bringing a simple and relatable concept to gamers, but with a twist. The fun gameplay is always a joy to come back to, and I think each Paperboy title has its own merit. The crazy events on each street are what really makes this game special, and is definitely what sets this game apart. You can find Paperboy on the Midway Arcade Treasured ports to PS2 and GameCube. It is also fairly available on the secondhand market if you're looking for the original cartridge. I highly recommend checking out this unique game and experiencing it for yourself. Thank you for watching the video. I absolutely love making these game spotlights and sharing the joy of retro gaming with you all. If you enjoyed the video, please consider supporting the channel by liking and subscribing. Have you played Paperboy in the arcade or one of the ports? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.